Welcome back to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural is a part of our everyday lives. If you have a story you'd like to share, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com. I'm so excited to have this guest on my show. We spoke earlier and she did some awesome channeling with my mom, and it was beautiful. So I am going to let her introduce herself and we'll get started. And welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you.
Hi, Dana. Thank you so much for having me today. It's just lovely to see you again. So thank you so much. My name is Tina Alston. I'm also known as the Cotswold Medium. So I'm based in the UK, but I do have quite a lot of clients in America and Canada, and obviously the UK and other countries. So it's just really, really lovely to be here and to kind of share my story. So thank you. Um, So I suppose I could start at the very beginning, and I was very, very lucky to be brought up in a very sort of spiritual family. My grandparents were from London, and some of my parents, and they would talk about going to evenings of mediumship demonstration with very famous mediums in London. And so I kind of grew up in that open environment where it was very normal to talk about loved ones in spirit and how they were always around us and supporting and guiding us. Um, so I would often see my wonderful granddad Arthur standing at the end of my bed. I was probably maybe 9 or 10, and I would hear his boots coming across the floor and then know that he was standing at the end of my bed. And which, as I got older and discussed that with my parents, it was of great comfort to me knowing that he was there with me at times, so kind of guiding me on. And I had quite a lot of experiences of precognition as a child as well. So that for people that don't know what that is, that's just basically a view really of things that's going to come up. So it's almost like an early warning system, I like to call it, really. So spirit just give us a glimpse of what's coming up. So for example, I was probably 6 or 7 and I would be at school doing some drawings, and I remember drawing a picture of very, very detailed picture for my age of um, an airplane that had crashed. And I even drew the survivors that had managed to walk away from the airplane, a very detailed sort of landscape of where it had crashed. And within a few days, this was back in the days of newspapers, my dad would be reading the newspaper, and I remember seeing that picture on the front of the newspaper. So that's all that sort of precognition, which most of us experience to some sort of degree in our lives. And
I
I
have a quick
also,
question.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course, yeah,
Yeah.
always.
So when you drew the picture and the picture in the newspaper, was that very similar of the two pictures that you drew, or were they different pictures, but obviously of the same incident?
It was almost identical. And bear in mind, at that time I was probably 6 or 7. Um, so, like I say, it was actually sort of quite a grown-up picture for me to even draw at that age. Um, and precognition like that has followed me all through my life. And even as a younger teenager, I was probably, yeah, maybe 11 or 12. Um, I would get upset with images of me holding a baby and feeling this overwhelming love for this baby, and then watching my dad pass to spirit almost immediately. And I always knew that those two incidences were interlinked, but I didn't know why. And then when I then went on to have my first child, my dad passed away 4 days after I had her. So that's all precognition, you see. That's kind of, almost like not a warning, but, spirit showing us that they are around us, and that, humans, as we are kind of plugged into the divine, as it were. We are aware of what's happening around us more than we realize, I think.
So did you find out what the connection of that was?
Like I say, within 4 days, that's what I'd been seeing. That's the emotions, the overwhelming emotions that I'd felt. And I didn't realize that until someone very close to me in my family passed to spirit suddenly. And I actually felt them passing 2 days before they passed. And I had that kind of gut-wrenching feeling, and I actually felt quite unwell. And then I knew Spirit told me that a female was going to pass, and within 2 days she'd passed in her sleep at the age she wasn't even 60. So again, it's kind of almost like an early warning system with Spirit, you know. Um, but obviously it's also wonderful to communicate with Spirit, so I don't want people to feel that it's a really, really scary thing, but it isn't always easy either. It's a very emotional journey, really, spiritual unfoldment. Um, and then when I left school after doing all my A levels and everything, and I always knew that I wanted to help people. So I actually became a funeral director in Hertfordshire. So I'd done that for a few years, but that really kind of sort of cemented how I felt about spirit, really, because I remember looking at people that had passed in the funeral directors and thinking, because I used to do all their hair and makeup and everything, and I used to think these people had feelings and worries and love and plans for the future. And where does all that go once our earthly bodies, are no longer here, you know? And so that really kind of made me feel that there was much more to it. There is definitely, a way to carry on communicating with, spirit energy. And I was probably only 20 at that time. So, but that really kind of cemented it for me that there was definitely a lot more than meets the eye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how do you manage what do you do when you have premonitions of things happening? I mean, is there, because I get the questions of that from people. It's like, if you can do that, how does that work? What do you do? I mean, if you do have one, are you supposed to go tell people about it? Or what's the purpose of having that knowledge that something is going to happen and you can't do anything about it? What's kind of
Um,
that purpose?
yeah, so just to explain, my background is I've been a nurse for over 20 years as well. So because after that I went into nursing, and there is a lot of ethics about it. So I did feel bad about not telling immediate family that this particular member of, I mean, I wasn't quite sure who it was going to be. I just knew it was going to be a female in our close family. And obviously you weigh that up and you just think, well, but how is telling people going to help? It isn't going to change anything. It's, so it is all about ethics. And that's a huge thing, particularly within mediumship. You have to always work from an ethical sort of frame of mind, you know. So, I mean, there's not much, like, so for example, with the airplane crash, there was nothing I could have done about that. Um, and a lot of the flooding, there was a lot of flooding in Greece and stuff like that. And I would have dreams about the flooding in Greece and the fires. And as one human being, there isn't much you can do about it. How I do kind of see a benefit from the precognition in my life, however, is it can be a wonderful thing. It really can. Um, it can kind of warn you about situations that are coming up that you need to be more prepared for, or, wonderful experiences that are coming up. So it isn't just bad things that they warn you about. They show you wonderful things as well, things that are coming up. And that also then feeds into my mediumship. So what I call it is I call it RSVP with spirit. So what I do is if I'm giving someone a reading, say for example, I was going to be doing a reading for you, Dana, in a few days' time, what I would say to Spirit is, and I know not all mediums work like this, but I would say to Spirit, um, if you'd like to come through and send a message, if you have a message for Dana, if there's any loved ones in spirit that would love to come through, then please start talking to me. So I would then feel their energy maybe a few days before the reading, and they will start showing me what we would call coincidences. Um, so like, I'd see a name repeated somewhere or a month or a date somewhere, maybe on out on someone's car registration or things like that. So that's where that precognition as well can also feed into your mediumship, because it's recognizing those signs and symbols that spirit like to give us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just the question that arises up in me, and I've
Yeah.
heard other people kind of, what's the point, So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. So that we can continue.
Okay.
So you
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fine. So, I could talk about spiritualism forever. So I've been a spiritualist for 30 years. So just to clarify that not all mediums are spiritualists and not all spiritualists are mediums. So a spiritualist obviously is somebody that um, this is my religion. So it isn't just a way of life. It isn't just communicating with beautiful souls in spirit. It's also the way that I choose to live. So, for example, I've regularly attended spiritualist churches, and as from April, I'm going to be on platform in spiritualist churches as well, demonstrating mediumship. And it is just a wonderful way of life. It's very sort of accepting and a very gentle way of life. So I've done that for over 30 years, brought my children up in the spiritualist church, and they would sit at the front of the church playing with all the spirit animals and things like that. So that's been absolutely wonderful. Um, and so I also host regular events here in the Cotswolds. So once a month, I also host evenings of mediumship and things like that here. So that just helps people to understand a little bit more about spirit communication as well, and how they like to come through. Um, what else is it you'd like to know? So I can discuss sort of different ways that spirit like to communicate.
yeah, we can go that direction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm actually in the process of writing a short book about sort of spirit communication, because it's just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
it really is fascinating. So and your mum was a wonderful communicator. So thank you for letting me work with your mum. So I can just sort of run through how I do a sitting, if you like. Um, so what I do is I always check to see if the sitter has had a reading before, because that can be quite important just to kind of gauge their understanding really of how spirit communication works. Because as someone that's had sort of life-changing readings with mediums, I think it's really important to kind of care for your sitter and really just make sure that they're okay throughout the whole process. And that starts with really when they contact you for a reading. And then I purposely don't like to know any information about them at all before they come for a reading. Very, very minimal information at all. Ideally, I like to walk into a room with people like I have no clue who they are and just give them beautiful messages, because I'm what's called an evidential medium. So it's all about giving that evidence, because ultimately that is what spirit are here for. That is what they want to give their loved ones on the earth plane. They want to give that beautiful evidence of the soul's continuation after physical death. That's what it's all about. Okay. And that was exactly kind of what I was thinking about as a funeral director. How is this person, where are all their hopes and dreams? And they absolutely come through the readings. I mean, I class it as a three-way process as well. And I explained to the sitter, it is a three-way process. So I will always acknowledge the beautiful souls in the spirit world. So when I be giving someone a reading, I will be saying yes, no, thank you, whatever to their loved ones in the spirit world, just out of respect. And it also helps to raise that vibration as well. It's really important to help raise that vibration. And I always make sure that the sitter is aware that the spirit person is there for them. Okay. And that it's their love. Love is the strongest bond. It is the highest vibration that we can operate on. And that is what draws our loved ones in spirit down to us, back down to us, because they need to lower their vibration to come and speak to us. And as mediums, we need to raise our vibration to meet them in the middle. So I always explain to the sitter that they are here for them, not for me. I am literally just a vessel, a channel for them to speak through. It's as simple as that. And so once the sitter understands what's going to happen, what the process is, I just explain to them, look, I will be talking to the spirit person and I will be acknowledging you as well, but I need you to say yes nice and clearly to evidence, just to help to keep those lines of communication open. Because how I've had it explained to me by wonderful teachers that I've had throughout my spiritual journey is that it is like a telephone. So if you was to pick the phone up to someone and they weren't going to answer, you would put the phone down, So spirit can be the same if they don't hear your voice and your energy. So I always explain that to the sitter as well, and obviously explain to them that it's all confidential. Everything's confidential, and yeah, then I just sort of start getting loved ones coming through. But like I say, I've always used my RSVP. So I often recognize the spirit energy as soon as they're there, because I have kind of given them an RSVP a few days before. And so, for example, I had this wonderful chap. About 3 months before I even met his sister, he kept coming through to me and saying, I want you to speak to my sister. Oh, and he was so lovely. He was a Rastafarian chap, and he was the most gentle energy. He was lovely. And I kept saying to him, okay, that's fine. When I meet her, just make it clear who she is, and I'll give her the messages for you. So again, like we was talking about earlier, it's all about ethics. So I don't believe in kind of going up to someone and saying, oh, I have a message for you from your loved ones in spirit. To me, that's crossing a boundary. And so as it happened, well, spirit already know what's going to happen. So she found me at one of my events and she asked me for a reading. And then her brother was literally standing next to me going, that's her, that's her, that's my sister.
So
So I
he
waited for
brought her
her.
to the so he brought her to the
Yes,
show so that the message could get
yes.
there.
Absolutely. And that's how spirit work, because my dad is one of my spirit guides. So I often find that I get a lot of daughters coming to me from their, because their dads are literally kind of bringing them to me through my dad. So yeah, absolutely. And this wonderful young chap, he died during COVID in America. And it's just quite an unusual communication, because he kept showing, I went to her home to give her a reading, and he kept showing me this box, and it was American Post box, and he kept saying to me, that's me. And I gave it to her and I said, look, I'm sorry, he showed me this box and it's like a postal sign on it, but it looks American. And he keeps saying to me, that's me. And she said, he died during COVID and his ashes were sent home to me in the box that you're describing. So, there's just so much evidence coming through, you know, and I mean, I could talk about spirit communication all day, because they're just so clever. The way they communicate with us, it's absolutely amazing. And I think what people are surprised about as well is how subtle spirit communication can be, which is why I think that's why a lot of people miss it initially. because it can be so subtle, just a fleeting glimpse of something, or just a fleeting memory or a fleeting idea of something. And that is them trying to impart their wisdom. That is them trying to guide us. But because we're living in such a busy, busy world, people often don't have the time to settle and their minds to settle to actually recognize that spirit are trying to communicate with them every day. Um, so there's also, like I say, having a reading is not only closure often for the sitter, it can also feel like closure for the loved ones in spirit. So I've had, because spirit are desperate to talk to us. They love talking to us. Okay, they love chatting with us and bringing those wonderful messages through. And so, say for example, I've had quite a few dads that have not been able to go to their daughters' weddings, and they've come through with real details about the daughter's wedding to say, look, I was there, and thank you for playing, that particular song for me in memory of me. And they're just so clever. And I don't know if you want me to touch on the different ways that spirit communicate as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we go that
So
direction.
yeah, so I've got all the clairs. So the clairs are like your clairsentience, claircognizance, clairvoyance. So so a lot of us start with like clear knowing. So that clairsentience is exactly like when you walk into a room and you get those psychic hits. You walk into a room and you just think, something feels a bit off in this room. I can't quite put my finger on it. So that is like a psychic hit, which can then lead you to, if you grow that and you practice with that, that will help you to increase your clairsentience. So that kind of clear knowing and clear feelings of what's happening in the environment. And my 25-year nursing career has really helped me to develop all of my clairs. Because obviously you're dealing with people in all sorts of walks of life, and on all sorts of journeys with all sorts of experiences. So it's really helped me to develop all of those. But I'm very clairaudient, so I hear spirit talking all the time. And I'm a bit naughty, really. I try to close it off as much as I can, but where I'm quite a soft person, and if they want to talk to me, I think, oh, it's rude not to listen.
That would be hard. That would be hard. I could see that.
And if because I'm also a member of the College of Psychic Studies as well, which is a wonderful place that's based in London, and it's over 100 years old now. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle actually found them the property that they were in now, because he was a very he was a very big spiritualist at the time, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So he actually found them the building they're still in now. And so when I do some training with them, they say, oh, well, try and start off on a psychic link. And I can't, because, I've got this little old lady going, no, I want to speak to you. I want to give a message. And I'm saying, how can I ignore this chap or this lady that's standing there going, come on, I've been waiting to give them a message. Oh, so just as kind of differentiate, I'm sure you're aware. So um, the difference between being a psychic and being a medium is that as a psychic, you're basically reading people's auras, you're reading their energy around them, their kind of um, auric field, and their etheric body and things like that. You're kind of tapping into that, and which is absolutely wonderful. And I believe that everyone is psychic, absolutely. And I feel that people should use that more, because again, that's a bit like an early warning system of, you know, is this person going to kind of drain my energy, or is there something not quite right here? And the difference between being a psychic and then being a medium is basically a medium is a channel for loved ones in spirit. So that's all about spirit communication and actually blending with that spirit energy and bringing beautiful souls through from the spirit world. So that's the difference. So yeah, spirit are really really clever with how they communicate. So I can't remember if I told you before or not, but my I've a couple of the readings that I've given, I kept getting the name Gertie, and I'm thinking, this is unusual. And I've given the sitter Gertie. No, no, I can't take Gertie. I'm really sorry. I was like, that's okay. And then it makes me chuckle because Spirit are talking about my car, because my car is called Dirty Gertie and it's a Land Rover. So whenever they give me the name Gertie, they're talking about a Land Rover. So so the sitters that I've given Gertie to, and I've gone to them, you can't take Land Rover, can you? And they've laughed and said yes. So spirit communication can be, they are so funny. They are really funny. Some of the things that they give us, you know, it's just really, really clever. And what they do is they use our memory bank. So they'll literally flick through our memories to give us a point of reference. So for example, my husband, he's a medium as well, and he was giving a reading to a lady once, and he said, "It's funny, I can see you putting." He said, "I'm at my nan's house, and she's getting carpet, but it's going on the walls." He's saying it's really strange. So they was using a memory of his to relay a message to the sitter, and she actually lived on a houseboat, and she was putting carpet on her walls. So she said, "I can totally take that." And so, for example, like my auntie Lillian, she gave me a really nice pearl ring, and Spirit will show me that when they're trying to communicate about sort of pearl jewelry, for example, you know. So they use our point of reference, really, what's been going on in our life as well, and our memory banks, to then help us to give that message then to the sitter as well. And it takes time and practice and a lot of patience to be a medium. It really does. And so I also offer sort of spiritual unfoldment circles as well, spiritual development circles. So I run them online, and we've got a few members actually from America as well. And they're really, really important for anybody that wants to kind of develop their own sort of spiritual intuition. It doesn't even have to be someone that wants to go on to be a medium. You know, it might be, I've got people in the circle that I can feel that they're going to be wonderful healers, for example, or teachers, things like that, you know. But that's really, really important. So anyone that wants to develop as a medium, it's really important that they find sort of local circles, ideally a closed circle. So I only run closed circles. So you often find open circles. So what that is basically when anybody can just kind of come along to the circle, really. And that's an open circle. So I don't run those. I only run closed circles. So it's basically once you're in the circle, you sort of stay, and it's about kind of developing that energy every week. You always sit at the same time, the same place, and develop your intuition and learn lots of new skills sort of spiritually. And once the circles are full, I then kind of build another circle, because it's important to keep those closed circles so that the energy stays the same each week, and you don't have the change, the fluctuations in energy each week, you know. Yeah.
Okay. Nice, nice. So can you have a spot where people can join you right now, or is it a full circle right now, or is this
No,
something?
I've got a couple of spaces left. Yeah, I've got a couple of spaces left. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm going to be on YouTube soon as well, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. If anyone, will you put my details on the
Yeah,
on this video?
yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah,
Mhm.
so people can contact me if they want readings, or um, are interested in any of my events. Obviously, if they're in the UK. Um, Though we get a lot of tourists here from America and Canada and Germany and all sorts.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
come to my events as well. So
Nice.
which is really, really nice. Yeah, yeah, really, really nice. So
That's really cool. Yeah, we'll put the all your information in below so people can connect
yeah,
with you and yeah,
yeah,
yeah, do all
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So spirit connects with you through your clairs and
Mm.
through your senses and all of that. So is there any connection that you've had that has really scared you and how did you deal with that and what do you suggest for others?
Um, so I personally obviously like to only work in the light. So my work is all about light, love, and upliftment. And so like I've always got something like that with me or my cross with me just to kind of give me that added protection. And I ask for angels all around the house at night and around the car and things like that. Um, but unfortunately, sometimes, and what I was always taught about, I've had some amazing mentors, what I was always taught is that if someone passes over and they're not particularly nice person, they won't necessarily change. They can still feel, you can still feel that very negative energy when they come through. Um, so again, it's all about prayers, protections, affirmations. So I teach all of that in my circle. And but yes, you know, you do get negative energies coming through, absolutely, which is why I don't personally, I don't like open circles because sometimes people do come through, you know, with different reasons why they want to kind of connect to the spirit world and they're not necessarily in love and light. Sometimes I find that it's just a misunderstanding that they don't necessarily understand what they're looking for, um, or sort of appreciate how the spirit world works. So I've definitely got a lot of protection around me all the time. There's lots of protective exercises that I carry out regularly. But also what I do, so as a child growing up, you know, that hasn't been an easy journey. As a child growing up in my bed, I would be quite scared. I would often have faces coming at me. I would hear lots of noises. I would be absolutely terrified. Um, so and as an adult, I have brought home negative energies from different places. So what I do is I speak to the spirit world. I ask for my guides and my um, angels, and I've got a dragon as well that's with me all the time. And I ask them to step close to me, and I ask them to protect me and my family. And you know, you can do some saging if you like saging.
Mhm.
Again, for me, it's all about saging and prayers. So it's about combining the two. Um, I work with people in my circle that have had some very distressing experiences of having spirit drawing close to them. And we advise them to ask spirit to take them away. And also you can have like a white energy, like a white light and like a white ball or whatever, and you can ask the spirit to walk away, walk into that, ask them to walk away. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots of things. And unfortunately, I don't like to use the word attachment because I feel that it kind of gives it power to talk
Mhm.
about it too much because thoughts and words are extremely powerful. And if you focus on lots of negative energy, unfortunately, that is what you will draw to you as well. However, inadvertently, you can also have, you know, negative energy just coming towards you. Like you can be in the middle of a shopping centre, for example, and, you know, have negative energy there that you pick up. So it is all about teaching yourself how to use your protection. So there's lots of different ways of asking for protection. I always get angel wings coming around me. So I have Angel Gabriel and the wings coming round
Nice.
me. My husband has the shield and the sword of Angel Gabriel and Angel Michael, sorry. And so it's, it's about finding ways that protect you and not focusing on the negative as well. But when they do come in, you can also go and have a shower, things like that, so you can wash away negative energy. So I always wash my hands in between readings and things like that, just to kind of reset and get rid of the negative energy. I also use Palo Santo, so that's holy wood, that you can burn that as well to kind of get rid of any negative energy. But I honestly feel the most powerful thing you can do is the power of prayer. But like I say, it's different for me because it is my religion. So not everyone will be coming at mediumship from that angle, and that's absolutely fine. But it is, and the reason why I like to go to a spiritualist church is because what I've always been taught by very sort of senior members of the church is that it affords you that protection throughout the week, which is why the prayers are said in a particular order in church, because it actually gives you that protection so that you don't take things home with you as well. If you're feeling really, really low and very troubled, we all go up and down in life, and that does happen. You can then get into that negative mindset, absolutely. But also, I'd like to discuss a story that I heard by a medium that I love, a Scottish medium called Gordon Smith. I'm sure it's called Smith, yeah. Sorry, my brain's gone. And
Good.
he he's wonderful. So he went to a house once, and he was told about this sort of 6 foot, demon basically that was in this home that was, terrorizing the house. And there was sort of marks up the wall, and there was this big shadow figure and stuff like that. And when he got there, he didn't feel any of that. And he spoke to the lady that was there, and he said, you know, do you have a child in spirit? And she said, yes, I do. I do. And he said, because this is a 6-year-old child that's here, and she's trying to get your attention, and she's running around writing on the walls, like marking the walls to get your attention. But in their mind, which I totally understand because they weren't
Yeah.
from like a spiritual background, in their mind, they'd seen this big shadow figure, and it was this overwhelming monster that was kind of scratching the walls and marking the walls. But actually, in reality, it was just spirit trying to communicate with them. And and like I say, this is a very personal journey, but when I reflect back on me hiding under my bed sheets as a small child, absolutely sweating hot because I didn't want to see all the faces coming at me, that was just my ancestors saying, hi, I'm here, you know.
Right.
And I think,
Right.
I can't remember if I told you or not before, I was at my friend's house once, and I didn't know anything about her house or anything like that. And I was sitting on the toilet, and this spirit person, this face just come flying at me. I've never got off the toilet so quickly. It kind of really made me, she only went, hello. And I was out of that toilet. But what I'm trying to say is we do need to put it in context as well. It's really, really important that we put it into context. And again, as a nurse, you study people's different ethnicity, their upbringing, their background, their life experiences, and that's really important to look at all those things and think, actually, I can see why this may come across as in this way to this person because of you know, their context that they're putting it into as well. Don't get me wrong, it isn't all light and love. Um, but I do believe that souls are given another chance. And I do believe that when they go to the spirit world, they do re-educate themselves because they've told me, once spirits pass over, they've learnt lessons from being on the earth plane, and then they take them to the spirit world, and this is just my beliefs, but in the spirit world they have universities and places of higher education where spirits can then go and unfold even further, and you know, and this is all the principles of kind of the spiritualist movement, that that there is continuation and redemption for every soul, if they're prepared to learn those lessons, if they're prepared to change. And I've had lots of spirits come through to me where they've come through in a very harsh manner, and then afterwards they've said to me, but that's not what I'm like now, but if I'd have come through soft and squidgy like I am now, the sitter wouldn't have recognized me, because on
Right.
the earth plane I was very strict and not a very nice parent, for example.
Mhm.
I was actually a very hard parent. I was I was very strict with my child. I was very distant with my child because of things that happened in my life. But now I'm all lovey-dovey. I want to say to them how much I love them. And but if you start with that, the sitter will go, no, that's not my dad. He never said he loved me once while he was on the
Mhm.
earth plane. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, to my mom was the same way. We never got the I love yous or anything until like, oh my goodness, it was maybe like 5 years before she passed. But we never really got the I love yous or anything either. But
Yeah.
we always got this, I'm only doing this because I love you kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, but we all know that there was the love there, but we just didn't know. Here's a question when it comes to that, because the way I am, I like to know like people's past. I'm very intrigued of how people got to where they are now.
Yeah.
Is that part of the spiritual world of wanting to know how to react to somebody because you don't know their past and you're just intrigued with wanting to know? Is there something spiritually with that?
Do you mean if I'm giving a reading to a sitter? Do you mean wanting to, or do you mean the spirit person?
Just in general, just like a person out on the streets and there's somebody that is like acting crazy when they're driving or something like this. It's like, okay, what brought them to this point? What was their childhood like? Why is this person being like this? What is that? Where's that coming from? It's like trying to get into their shadow
Their psyche.
to
Yeah.
finding out who they are. Is that the psychic? Because I'm
Yeah, it
always
can
trying to
be.
find that out. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's also, wanting to understand people. So again, this is about sort of a psychology, aspect. It's about
Yeah.
wanting to understand why people function the way they do. And I'm a
Exactly.
great believer in that we chose the life that we have, as hard as it can be. I believe that we chose the parents that we come to, the time that we come to, the way, our life is, our partner, and things like that. Um, all for lessons, really. So it might have been that it might have been that they needed to learn about, more about self-care, for example, or personal responsibility. Again, that's all a sort of spiritual ethos, but it's all about personal responsibility and things like that. So it might be that their soul needed to learn those lessons. Does that make sense? And then they've come down in a particular life for them to then learn those particular lessons.
So yeah, that right there I'm getting. So it's the individual, but for like I look at somebody and I'm like, what is their past? Where did they come from to be this person that they are? I'm the one looking at other people and saying, where did you come from?
But again,
Where are
that
you?
yeah,
Yeah,
but that again could be your soul's path, you see. So like for example, like in times when I've sort of questioned and I've said to spirit, I don't know if I can do this anymore, you know, is this the right thing for me? I've had a spirit person come to me in my bedroom and put their hand on my hand and say, this is your soul's purpose. This is your soul's purpose. So for you, where you're interested in other humans, you know, or other spirit beings, because I believe we're all spirit beings, where you're kind of then drawn to other spirit beings, it may be that that is your soul's purpose, to care for others. Does that make sense? Or to be intuitive, to kind of be drawn maybe as a healer, or, you know, you may see people in distress and think, I wonder what's brought them to that. And that's such a wonderful feeling, that you're not just thinking about yourself, you're actually, you know, thinking of others. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, and it's also part of being a bit nosy as well, which is, you know, as a medium, you need to be nosy. You do. Like I say, I'm never ever nosy with the sitter. I prefer it if I don't know a single thing about them. But being nosy with the spirit world, you know, so it's wonderful that you've got that intuition, that you kind of want to find out about other souls. You know, that's absolutely part of it. Absolutely, you know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been like that for so long. I've always been drawn to people that have a tough time in life. You know, I've always been drawn to those people. And as I got older, where did this person come from? Why? Where did, let me walk in their shoes, or, you know, what are they about? What
Yeah.
brought them to this point? Yeah, just
But do you
very
know what?
curious.
If everyone thought like that, what a wonderful world this would be, isn't it?
Shucks.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? You
Yeah.
know, it really would be. You know, like I say, as a nurse and you know, a previous funeral director and as a nurse for a long time, you see so many people that are really, really struggling, you know, and I just don't know if people ever sort of stop and think, you know, oh, I wonder what that person's been through. I wonder if they're okay today, you know? And I think if as human beings we kind of felt a little bit more like that, it would just be such a nicer world. I think I'm a bit of a hippie at heart. That's what it is.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely feel that you're on the same sort of energy vibration. So you know, it might be that you're meant to be a light worker or a healer and kind of go down that route, which is why you're looking at others and thinking, I'd love to kind of know if they're okay. Or maybe past life regression would be a good thing for you to learn, or if you don't do that already.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That'll give me
Yeah,
some ideas of places to go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow. Well, we're very close to an hour.
Oh, wow.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, fine. Sorry, I hope I've not rambled on too much. I hope I've made some sense.
Absolutely not. You were absolutely perfect. But
Oh.
yeah. Thank you so much. If you want to come back and we can talk more about this, I'd be very happy to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Definitely.
Okay.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. It's just been lovely to meet you and to work with your loved ones in spirit as well. It's just such an honor to be working for spirit and serving spirit. And yeah, so that's where my soul path is, and may it continue for a very long time. So yeah.
Well, I suggest anyone, if they want to have a reading, you would be a great one to go to. So
Oh,
you've been
thank you.
very polite, very sweet, very open, and very honest, and just going through a huge list of things that was given to you to give to me, which was very good, awesome. I really enjoyed the reading with you. So thank you so much for that one. And yeah, you're welcome back
Oh, it's a
anytime.
pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, if there's anybody out there that has a story you would like to share, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com and we'll get connected. So we'll talk with everybody next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.